to Let's Boop Snoots.
My name is Vero.
And my name is Heidi.
And we're gonna
boop.
boop.
We gonna boop.
Time to boop.
Time to boop. What are we going to boop about this week? What are we going to boop about?
Gonna boop about Ralph.
Always about Ralph
Always.
Always about our doggies. Always.
Mm-hmm.
I read a couple of articles that I was going to talk about.
I read a story in one of my books, a doggy story. Ooh, I can talk about that. Ooh.
What, tonight at dinner, we have somebody who's renting a room from us. It's a close friend of ours. And he was talking about this, and I meant to look it up actually, but he was saying that, you know, Ben and Jerry's ice cream? It was
Do
Ben...
I ever?
Yeah, I am a little too familiar with Ben and Jerry's ice cream. One completely unrelated fun fact: if you work at the Ben and Jerry's ice cream factory, which I've been to before, it's in Vermont.
Yes.
Everybody, you get a free pint a day that you work. Every
Oh
shift,
my
you
God.
get a free pint. I'm like, you would have to cut me out of my house if I worked there. But back on topic here. Our buddy told us a story about how it was either Ben and Jerry went to a friend's house and he had made like a frozen grape kind of like ice cream. It was like grape ice cream or something like that. And he dropped a frozen grape, and the friend's dog ate it and died immediately because apparently, like, I know that grapes aren't supposed to be good for dogs.
Mm-hmm.
But frozen grapes, I think, are supposed to be even worse or something like that.
Wow.
So he never made grape flavored ice cream again.
Wow.
I'm wondering if this is true. I'm going to check it out. But
ooh, that's crazy.
I know.
I think they make ice cream with chips. Do they? I think
Do they? Oh my God, that would be so good.
That would be my favorite. If not, Ben and Jerry, if you're listening, you should. You should. Grapes, eh? One grape?
I guess so. And there's like stuff on the internet here about it. So her beloved dog then ate some and died in an immediate, unceremonious death. Thus, they vowed never to make grape ice cream again. Huh.
Crazy.
Huh. Yeah, that's crazy. Anyways,
I will never freeze my grapes.
I know. And like I think I froze grapes once to put like in wine or something, like at a party. Like someone said to do it and use it as like ice cubes or whatever. So it's a little something that you don't think about. And I think like way back in one of our first episodes, we talked about foods that were not good for doggos, like the poisonous, like the chocolate and the garlic and the onions, the things that you are and aren't supposed to feed your dogs. And I remember grapes being one of them, but I had no idea like just how lethal they could be. Like I thought chocolate was supposed to be really bad, but we were like in this conversation that we had tonight at the dinner table, we talked about the first Christmas that we had Becky, where she ate 2 like a giant sized Toblerone bars, and I was like, oh my God, she dead, she gonna die. But she just ended up getting really bad diarrhea.
Well, Wiggum ate quite a few grapes.
He did, eh?
Yeah, off the counter.
Yeah.
Not out of the freezer. So does something happen to the grape when it's frozen?
I don't know. I think maybe we need to put our boops to the ground and research this.
Was this like a mini Yorkie?
Yeah, it could have been like the size of the dog too, right? A little chihuahua.
Yeah.
A chihuahua.
Chihuahua.
Oh my goodness. The other day it was funny, and maybe this is something that we shouldn't talk about on Let's Boop Snoots, but when my son and I were driving home, and I saw this person walking this dog down the street, and it was easily one of the most hideous dogs I've ever seen in my life. That's not a nice thing to say, but it looked like it was a combination of my 2 least favorite breeds. So I said to my son,
did you hear that?
No.
My stomach? It sounded like a dog.
Did it? Are you hungry?
No.
Does Vero need a treat? So I said to my son, "Do you know what my two least favorite breeds are?" And he said, "Pugs." I said, "Yep, correct." And then he said, "Poodles." I said, "No." My second least favorite breed are schnauzers.
Oh, even the big ones?
Yeah, I don't like them. I don't like their bearded faces. They look like old professors.
Aw, I don't mind the big ones.
No?
No,
What are your two least favorite breeds?
I would say pug is one of them.
Yeah,
I don't know. I
I
don't
don't. I,
know.
I don't
Yeah.
get the whole like pug thing. Like I get it. It's like a whole like cult following. There's so much like pug paraphernalia out there too, I find.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I saw today
Hmm.
when I was driving down one of the streets that we share, the Ibiza hound.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
I know.
I like that dog.
I like those dogs too. It looks like a cooler version of Becky.
With the ears.
Yes. Oh,
Saw
that's
that.
also
Yeah.
not nice to say. This is like a not nice episode of Let's Boop Snoots.
What's your least favorite dog breed?
Heidi is being
Based
just a
on physical
snooty snoot, snoot,
features.
snoot. Based on physical features. It's not that I have anything against old professors, but like, I don't know. I just don't like the look of those schnauzers. It's not a dog I would ever get.
No. Yeah. I don't know if I would. Probably not.
So, what dog story did you read?
So I read a dog story about this lady who brings her border collie to a dog trainer. So she says that her border collie, is super friendly with people, with other dogs, but when he's inside the house and he sees another dog walking by, he like aggressively barks at the window, like to the point where she's worried that the window's going to break.
What?
And the breeder said that he's heard of that happen like a couple of times where
Of
a
a
window breaks.
of a dog barking so loud that the window breaks?
Well, they're like aggressive at the window.
Oh,
Like they're
oh,
running
okay, okay,
into the
okay.
window and pawing at
Oh,
it. And
oh, okay.
so as she was in the dog trainer's office that had a window, a dog was walking by. So the trainer got to see
Mm-hmm.
um, exactly what was happening. So after the dog went by, the trainer decided to grab a ball, and he was holding the ball and the border collie was sitting, and then the border collie barked once.
Mm-hmm.
Then he ended up not throwing the ball, and he wasn't paying attention to the dog. He was just talking to the owner.
Yep.
And then the border collie kept barking more and more and louder and more like aggressively. And the owner was saying,
Still at the dog outside or at the guy holding the ball
at the
now?
guy holding the ball.
Okay.
And the owner was saying apparently that in the evening, the only way that she can tire out her super energetic border collie is to play fetch with him in the house. So she plays fetch with him all the time. Like if she's on the phone, if she's watching TV, like he barks. She says like, "Oh, he barks at me, and the only way I can stop it is throw the ball." So this dog trainer is talking about how some dogs have no like threshold for frustration,
Okay.
right? So as soon as they're frustrated with something, like they just can't, they have no control over it.
So how do you
Like they're
manage
always
that?
getting what they want. So it's
Yeah.
the same thing as like always like coddling your dog,
Oh, okay.
like always petting your dog, giving your dog attention, um, you know, finding the easy way
Yes.
of getting your dog to stop doing something.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was interesting because we kind of talked about that a lot on the podcast. So I was reading that, I was like, oh, we talked about this.
So what was his solution to her problem? Did it say?
Nope. I don't think it said. So it just says that they're being coddled and not like too much, and they never learn to tolerate frustration. Teaching dogs to tolerate disappointment is not always fun for owners, just like raising children is hard work. I think it's really just to start like stop giving your dog like instant attention.
I'm trying to think of what I would do in that like situation. So if
Make
I
the
think,
dog work for it.
well, exactly,
Yeah.
work for the, like if he likes playing fetch, so it would be going outside, so start off your day regularly with like no dogs walking by the house or anything like that. I wonder if she's ever corrected her dog before.
Well, probably not. It doesn't
Yeah.
sound like it. It sounds like the dog, it looks, well, in the story, it says the dog bit her a few times,
Oh my God. Yeah, no.
which is why, so apparently she grabbed her dog by the collar and he bit her,
Hmm.
and which is something that Ralph did today. So I was like, oh my God.
He's the worst. What have
Is
I
he a,
done?
is he a bad dog?
Monster dog.
A
Monster.
monster. So yeah.
So I think in that situation, yeah, again, like it would be right away take the food away and you make them work for everything. So you
Mm-hmm.
go back to basics there. So I would do that, and like if the dog knows sit, stay, like all of that, and same thing like a withdrawal of like all kinds of like affection and stuff like that. And then just going outside, and then when you do reward them like with the ball, like I would again practice sit, stay, whatever commands that they're familiar with. If they can do that, good boy, take the balls, throw it a couple of times, but don't throw it until the dog gets tired. Throw it and keep him on a high note so that he's motivated to work again for
Yeah.
that playtime and something that he
Mm-hmm.
likes. So then I would introduce another type of correction, so that when the dog sees somebody going, another dog outside and starts barking, so I'd be ready for it. So you can tell, again, you try to like do it before it happens. So when I can see at the front of my house a dog coming down the street, I'll sit there and I'll watch Gibbon, and the first thing you see is their ears go up, right? Like they're interested, they're like, oh, who's that? And then I go, Gibbon, no. That's where you start the correction. The
Yeah.
second where
Because
you
you
know
know
they're
they're
going to do
gonna,
it, you know
yeah.
they're going to get started, you know they're going to bark, you know they're going to whatever it's going to build or whatever. And so I'd be like, Gibbon, no. And then if he's then good boy, then reward it right there on the spot. If he can't do it, good boy. Whether it's throw the ball for him once, twice, or whatever. So now he like you're teaching him right out the get the second he sees a dog to like come and look at you instead.
Yeah.
So I think that's how I would try handling it at first and see how that goes, and then I'd probably, if nothing was working, go to a couple of Q&A sessions with the pros. With the
Yeah.
pros.
Yeah, he doesn't really say like what he recommended or what she recommended. She recommended.
Yeah, it's always tough. Like people don't know what to do in that situations, right? They come with behaviors. And like I said, and like we did an episode once on the Q&As, but Q&As are like super helpful for that kind of stuff. And they might give you a little bit of guidance on what to try, what to do.
Yeah.
Um, and that sort of thing. So I would definitely go to one of those, but it depends on what sort of knowledge base you have to begin with, right? So like again, if she's just constantly giving this dog whatever he wants and there's no boundaries whatsoever, well,
Yeah.
then you got to start there, lady. You
Mm-hmm.
got to start there. So tell us more about Ralph's little bite today, bad boy.
So Ralph was biting. He has a blanket over his crate and he was biting at it, something that he stopped doing and now he's doing again. So I went, Ralph, no. And then he kept doing it. And then I said, Ralph, no again. And I grabbed his collar to remove him. And he bit me. It wasn't hard. Like it didn't hurt. He just put like his teeth on me.
Hmm.
So I walked into him and I said, Ralph, no. And then he kind of stopped. And when I started walking, he was kind of like nipping at my legs, my thighs. So I
Hmm.
did the same thing, Ralph, no, and he stopped at some, like eventually he stopped. And then afterwards, when we were away from the crate in the dining room, I went again just to see what he would do to grab his collar. And
Hmm.
he moved his head a little bit like towards my arm. And I said, no. And then he stopped. And then I released the collar, and then I did it again. I did it a few times afterwards, and he didn't bite me.
Yeah.
So I think he's just being a dingaling right now.
A little teenager, a little teenager, testing the
Yeah.
boundaries. Yeah. So the only thing like I would have done there is like for me biting is like a big time like no and like
Mm-hmm.
we talked briefly about this before we started here or whatever, but you don't want them to bite the wrong person, or if like there's a kid around, and because kids are always grabby, right? And if somebody grabs his and he feels comfortable to turn and bite them on the arm,
Yeah.
that's no good. So for me, like the punishment is harsh for a growl, like an unwarranted growl, like or guarding, like any of the like hard stops for me, like the big time boundaries. So if I had gone to grab him and my dog turned around and bit me on the arm, I would have immediately grabbed them by the neck and pushed them to the floor and said no.
Yeah. Well,
And
that'll
if
be next time.
yes,
Because there's
and
going
it,
to be a next time, I'm
oh.
for sure.
And then when they resist it, like they try to get out, and then you say no, and you apply more pressure to them, and that's just you showing them like, no, I'm the boss, and you have to listen to me. So you hold them down there until they like give up, basically. Like you feel them like give up, like okay, like that's them submitting to you,
Mm-hmm.
and then you release, then you let go, and they will take you pretty seriously after that. Like
I
I
don't
can.
know. Ralph might like it.
Oh, he might try to wrestle with you, but
It's like,
I have a
ooh.
feeling like yeah, he's gonna wiggle and he's gonna try to get out of that, and you need to hold him
Oh,
until he
yeah.
submits.
Because we did it when he was a puppy, and
Yeah,
he would, like, yeah,
wriggle,
he was
wriggle, wiggle,
persistent.
wiggle, wiggle, wiggle.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And then at some point he would stop.
yeah. Oh my goodness, that little teenager.
Little
The teenager
teenager.
years are the hardest years. I'm learning
Yeah.
that with dogs and with humans right now.
Oh, well, we met
Oh,
some of his siblings.
oh yes.
Yes. So we
How did that
met
go?
his brother named Henry
I love it.
and
Ralph
two
and Henry.
sisters.
This is hilarious.
Yeah.
Tell me their names are
Ralph,
like
Henry,
Margaret and like Ruby.
Zoe,
Oh,
and Lola. They're all like human names.
I find that so funny.
So Henry is the big one.
Yep.
Like he's not overweight, but he's like significantly bigger than the other three.
Oh my goodness.
Yep. And then Zoe, I find Ralph looks the most like Zoe
Mm-hmm.
in size and like the face. And
Mm-hmm.
Lola looks different from everybody else. But
That's
she's pretty
hilarious.
cute.
Oh,
Yeah,
so
they
cute.
were all so cute together.
Did they just like play? Like, were they happy to see each other?
Yeah. So I kind of looked that up. Like, can dogs remember their siblings?
Yeah.
So if they stayed together until about like 16 weeks,
Mm-hmm.
they might remember them, but chances are that they don't. They
Oh,
might
okay.
remember the smell,
Yeah.
but chances are they don't. But I think they know when they're the same breed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Because
so
Wiggum
too.
would get extra excited for labs.
It's weird. Like Gibbon doesn't really pay much attention to other Weimaraners, but I haven't seen like a ton of other Weimaraners. But like even Vizsla's, like there was one once that he like went and was sort of sniffing at, and I was like, it's a distant cousin. But yeah, he I don't know. I've never seen him like really like focus like on other Weimaraners.
Yeah. It was interesting to hear about like how everybody was training their own like golden.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Because
did
some
they?
of them, so Henry apparently the first night was in a crate and didn't do one little peep.
Wow.
Yeah. But now he sleeps in his place in the bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
I believe Zoe, I don't know about Zoe, but Lola sleeps on the bed, I believe.
Huh.
So it's all like different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did anybody say what they were doing for training? Like, are they doing puppy classes, or are they part of a program, or are they just doing it on their own? Or
I know Henry's owner said he was kicked out of daycare because he was humping all the dogs.
Henry the Humper?
Henry the Humper.
Humper Henry?
No, nobody said anything about puppy
About,
classes.
oh,
Yeah. But a
interesting.
couple of them are in the area, so we're going to try to meet up again.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
That's
So
super
cute.
cute. That is so
They were
super
so cute.
cute. So
Hmm.
I read a couple more articles in this Time magazine that my husband so kindly bought for me. So they're all very, very, very short articles, but they talk about, I just can't believe, like, I think I said this on the last episode too. I just can't believe the amount of like studies there are going on dogs. I kind of want to become like a dog researcher a little
Ooh.
bit. Time to give up my career and look for a new one, I think. But so the first one that I read, the title was called "Dogs Learn Better Than Humans." So this talked about a study where they had like a treat in a box, and there was a lever, and they used transparent boxes and opaque boxes. So like one of them, you could see the treat was in there, and then the humans would show the dog that you push the lever, and then you can lift the lid. However, the lid had nothing to do with the lever at all. So dogs were pushing the lever, but once they found out that you didn't need to push the lever, then they would just open the lid and they would skip the steps. So they were talking about how they would
Mm.
skip like unnecessary steps. But like in the end, like it was they just compared it to humans and just saying that like, even though we teach toddlers about how to open a door, we teach them how to open the door for somebody who else is coming along, or it's more about like social like nuances than it is about learning like a very specific task, and that's what makes us different from the animal, right?
Yeah.
So that was basically the end of that one. But they used wild dogs too. They used dingoes and like domesticated dogs, and both of
Ooh.
them figured out how that you didn't need the lever at all. You could just lift up the thing and get the treat. So
Smarties.
I found that very interesting. Um, and then the next one that I read was called No Place Like Home, and it was talking about how pets find their way. So they were talking about lots of different species and what they use to sort of navigate. So they talked about like turtles and like birds and dung beetles and stuff like this. And so like some of them have like iron in specific places in their body, which like sort of makes them run in like or makes them go in a magnetic direction. And they talked about a bunch of different studies. So like there was one that what did it say? It talked about cattle, deer, and voles tend to orient in a north-south direction because of the iron. I forget where it is
Ooh.
in them. I think it's like in their ears or something like that. And it was hilarious. But they talked about the stories about how dogs can always find their way home. And you hear about these like crazy, amazing stories where the dogs like find their way. And it was hilarious because they like take a shot at cats here too, because they were saying that like a dog that travels a great distance to get home is likely trying to return to its owner, since the dog human bond is a powerful one. And it said a cat that travels the same distances, and it says sorry cat owners, probably just trying to return to its territory. But um when they talk about these dogs that are like miles and miles away from home and like find their way back, and there's like lots of them that don't, right? Because there's lots of people, you only hear about the ones that like that turn up because again it's an amazing story. But
Hmm.
they compare it to like cell phone towers. Like you need certain cell phone towers and stuff, so they might pick up like the scent of a familiar tree and then like follow that, and then they might smell like a familiar restaurant that's like in the neighborhood, and then they've like
Mm.
so they tie everything like
Yeah.
that's taking them back. And so it just talks about the scent trail, but it said that dogs are naturally good travelers and some are even incredible ones. That was the last one
Hmm.
there. And then in the third one, it was titled "The Proof That Your Dog Really Does Care." So I found this study very interesting because, like, and I think I tried this before, but you don't know how it's going to turn out until it's like actually happening. But basically, so in the study, they had dogs and their owner. So their dog was in one room, and in the other room was their owner, and they could just push the door open to get to their owner if they needed to. And so with one group, they had the owners yell help in a very distressful like voice in certain intervals, and then in another one they had the owner just say the word help, like not in a distressful tone, and then hum Twinkle Twinkle Little Star in between the intervals of when to say help again.
Okay.
So in both groups the dogs would push the door open. Most, like the majority of dogs pushed the door open to get to their owners. However, the ones that were yelling in a distressful tone, they were faster. So I forget how many seconds it said. I think it was like within 23 seconds they would go into the ones with a distressful voice, whereas it was more like 96 seconds to the people who were just humming or crying. They had them hum or like cry. And
Oh.
then they said to not make the owners feel bad about how their dog performed. They said that the ones that didn't go were showing signs of distress. So like they were panting or licking or yawning. So like
Oh.
you could tell that they were feeling the anxiety or the stress. So
Yeah.
it could be that like it's not that they didn't know how to push open the door, but they were just saying it's just like anyone else. Like some people are quicker to respond to like another person than others,
Yeah.
right? But I found that interesting. And then the one thing that made me laugh like super hard about it too was they made mention that um, they said immediately after we finished each person and dog combo, almost every single one of the owners would sit and explain how their dog really would rescue them though in a real situation. They
Oh.
explained with a laugh that happened whether they were in the control group and humming or crying. Everyone wanted to tell us how much their dog would actually help them.
What would Ralph do?
Well, see, that's what I can remember once. I think I was like, I don't know if I was bored or whatever, but I decided to like just drop to the ground and just lay there still. And Gibbs came around, like he sniffed, like he came and sniffed at my face and like was licking my face and sniffing and licking and sniffing and licking. But then he didn't do much. Like then he walked around the room and then he just like went and laid down on the couch.
Yeah, I
So,
did it with Wiggum once, and he just like sniffed around me. I think he laid down beside me, but there was no. I don't know if they know. Do they know
well,
though that we're
well,
faking?
that's what I'm saying. It's like, like I wonder if they're sensitive to things like heartbeat or like, are you actually in distress, or like, can they smell like that things are like that you don't have circulation and that things are
Yeah,
starting to
you're
die.
not
You know what I
breathing,
mean?
or
Or something like that. But if you're breathing, they're probably just like, okay, like whatevs. But
faker.
yeah, but we were talking about this the other night, and again, like this is a story that I think I've told like a bunch of times on Let's Boop Snoots, but like it really is amazing, and especially the more that I read articles like this and like talk about different stories and stuff. But it was the time that my dad was at the cottage with Scraps and
Mm,
our first dog, and Scraps was barking at the door, which he doesn't usually do, but my dad just figured he wanted to go for a walk, and it was kind of close to the time that they would go for a walk. So when you walk up the driveway away from our cottage, like up to the road where they would normally go for a walk, um, my dad would sometimes turn left because we have property in the back with trails and stuff, and that's where 9 times out of 10 he would go walking with the dogs. Or sometimes he would go to the right and just walk along the road to see other people at their cottages and stuff. And so like he sort of does like a little bit of both, like depending on when they're taking their walk or whatever they're feeling. And sometimes my dad goes, do you want to go this way or do you want to go this way? It's so cute, and the dogs bark at him, and then eventually they start going one way, and then my dad's like, okay, and he follows them or whatever. Anyways, so they go up to the end of the laneway, and Scraps didn't even stop or anything. He went to the right and started running down the road. So when my dad followed him down the road, a tree had fallen on a branch. It was had caught fire, and it was like starting to catch like other trees on fire. And our cottage is like in the middle of nowhere, and the closest like municipality that would have like access to like firefighters and stuff like that was like 20 to 30 minutes away. So my dad like ran back. He called like the firefighters. They came and they put out the fire before there was any like significant damage to the cottage area. But that could have taken out like our entire like development. So
Yeah.
I got a very excited phone call from my dad that night. He was like,
Oh,
"Scrap saved the
hero.
day. He saved the day." And we were like, so we were just talking about it the other night at the table, and my husband was saying it's like it really is amazing when you think about it, because I want to say it was like at least 2 kilometers away
Wow.
where the fire had started. So the fact that he was able to smell and like sense that something was wrong, or that like, and people
Yeah.
have fires like all the time at the cottage. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So how did he know that it was like a bad one?
I
Because
don't
like
know.
people are constantly like, they either have a fire
I
going
don't
in their
know.
cottage that you can smell, or they're burning something outside. How did he know?
I don't know.
How did he know, Vero?
Electrical fire?
Scrap it. Yeah, maybe it smelled differently, and that's
Yeah.
what. So he was like, "That's not a fire that's usually up here." Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe the smell was different, and that's why he was like,
Mm-hmm.
"Hey, let's go check this out, Opa. Let's go check this out." But it is an amazing story. It should be in a book somewhere. I should write
It should.
somebody about it. My dad still thinks that he should have gotten a Medal of Honor for for that.
Yeah. He saved. He saved the day
But
in
in
a lot of
terms
people's
of
cottages.
but in terms of like, what was I going to say, in terms of like just like the scent and like all of that, it truly is an amazing story. But you wonder how they train these dogs, and I think I've even asked this question before too, and maybe like that's something we can boop about another time, is dogs that can smell like infection in hospital, or dogs
Mm-hmm.
that can smell like certain things and stuff
The
like that.
COVID dogs.
How do they get that? How do they train them to do that?
I don't know.
And how reliable
How
is
do they
it?
capture the scent?
I exactly. How do you smell COVID? Can you imagine? How do you smell even like, or like, how do they sense like even the dogs that are trained for the people who have seizures and stuff like that? Like they come and notify them when they're about to have a seizure, so they
Yeah.
know to like lay down and be in the right. Like, isn't that crazy? We need to find these people in boob snoots.
Yes.
How can a
I don't know.
dog like pick up on like neural activity like in a human? That just like is so crazy.
Does it emit like a some sort of a wavelength of something?
Well, it's got to, because like even like in the article that I just mentioned where it talked about like other types of animals, like so they did studies with like these dung beetles, because the dung beetles will follow like wherever the Milky Way is,
Wherever the
and
dung is.
wherever the dung is. Like they'll roll their little dung ball towards like the Milky Way apparently. And so they did an experiment where they switched where the Milky Way, because they had them in a planetarium, of course, where they were doing like these studies and stuff. And then when they switched the Milky Way, what did it say here? So it said, sorry, I'm just looking it up. Yeah, I'm looking it up. So the same is true of the unglamorous dung beetle. While naturalists have not extensively tracked the species' per- perambulations in the wild, they've studied them in, yes, planetariums. And as long as the artificial Milky Way was in view, the beetle and its dung ball rolled right along. But they switched and changed the stars, and the little critter was completely flummoxed. So I guess
No.
didn't know where to go. So it's just, again, is it a magnetism thing? Is it like a north south pole thing? And like even turtles, like when they have their babies like swim a certain way, but they did the experiment where they switched like magnet poles or whatever and stuff on them, and it's the babies swim towards the way that they're supposed to every time.
I didn't know that.
Yes, isn't that crazy?
Little Ninja
Science.
Turtles.
Science. Science. Yep. I find it just so crazy. Anyways,
Hmm. I didn't know the little turtles swim.
speaking of uncontrolling barkers, like in your story, and I think like we've talked about this before too, like when you have your dog for a while and the relationship grows, it's almost like having like babies where you can tell what kind of like a bark it was. So last night my dogs went and were barking at the back door, and I could tell right away from the bark that there was something or someone in our backyard because it's different. Like it's a different bark. I was like,
Yeah.
so I was like, come, I was like, Becky, come. But they were like obviously very focused and barking like more and more. So I said to my husband, I'm like, can you go downstairs and look at what that is? And then as soon as he started walking down the stairs, and I was like, and don't open the door, just in case
Yeah.
it's a skunk, because I didn't feel like dealing with skunk dogs at like 11 o'clock at night or whatever. So sure enough, he went down and looked out the window, and there was a big Pepe Le Pew prancing around in my backyard.
Hey, Pepe.
Hey Pepe, and
How does it go again? The cartoon?
I totally forget.
With Pepe Le Pew?
Pepe Le Pew. Pepe Le Pew. I totally forget. But I didn't know that skunks were like blind. Did you know that? They
No.
have like really poor vision. And they don't skunk you unless they have to, because it takes them 2 to 3 days, and apparently it just like completely wipes them out too, to like spritz, because they
Oh.
spritz like super far too. Their bum spritz goes like a long
Yes.
distance.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did not want them to go out, so we wouldn't let them out, and they were pretty upset about that. Our dogs wanted to feast on
Get
that skunk
spritz.
poo, get spritzed. So I hope it doesn't come back again tonight, because it drove
I
them
always
cuckoo
look if
cuckoo.
there's one outside. As soon as I step outside, I look. I'm like, okay, let's go.
I can remember, so I was a smoker for a short period of time. Shame, 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 shame. And I can remember coming home one night and having a smoke in the garage with like the door open and like before going inside. So I'm just sitting there and I was on my phone, like focused on my phone and looking at stuff or like messaging with somebody or whatever. And then something caught the corner of my eye, and I looked and there was a skunk, like, I'm not kidding you, like right at my feet. And I was like, oh my God. So I literally like did not like move a muscle, and I was hoping that like someone wasn't going to come pull into the driveway and scare the shit out of the scare the spritz out of this thing. I almost said a bad word there. I think that might have to get whooped. But scare the spritz out of them. And I just literally like I like held my breath because I did not want this
Mm,
thing to spook this
yeah.
thing, and he eventually walked away, and then I promptly went into the household and was like, oh my God.
Oh, that happened to my dad. He was taking a walk and he stopped to text somebody
Hmm.
and he felt something on his leg. I guess he was like looking at his phone and texting, and then he felt something at his leg, and it was a skunk walking by.
Oh
like,
my God.
like it touched him.
Yes.
Ugh,
Ah.
ugh.
It's scary because you're just like, please no. Like, have you ever smelt fresh like skunk spritz?
Yes, it's like you're suffocating.
It's like burning rubber chemical smell. Like it's not even like the typical like skunky smell that you smell like driving on the highway where you're like, oh, somebody must have hit a skunk. Like it's like toxic burning chemical, horrible, 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 horrible smell. Like at first, like
Yeah,
you can't even tell like what it is. But anyways, yeah,
gross.
no skunk to poo for us, please.
No, no.
So be careful before you open the door for your dogs, everybody, especially at nighttime. You make sure that those stinky little critters aren't out there. Because then you're going to be looking
Disgusting.
up a past episode of ours for our skunk removal recipe,
Oh
which
my
is,
god, I hope that never happens.
oh my goodness, of all that, or porcupines too.
Oh yeah.
What a, like when we were talking about this, a friend of mine said that he had a porcupine in his garage once, and I have never seen a porcupine in the city.
Oh, yeah,
Have
me
you?
neither.
No.
No.
Skunks, yes. Raccoons, yes. Porcupines? No.
No.
No. They do not belong.
No.
All right. Well, is that a wrap?
Mhm.
Let's wrap it up on a
Let's
let's
rat
boop
it.
snoots.
Are we redoing our ending?
Yeah, maybe. You go for it.
Is this a wrap?
This is a wrap.
On Let's Boop Snoots.
Join us next week.
Boop.